board meeting. We'll call to order, let's say the Pledge of Allegiance. Bill, let's have you lead the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. You're a regular.
All right, I'll try. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Bill. We appreciate it.
No problem.
What a great America.
Happy to serve.
What a great America.
Wow.
All right, let's move right into minutes here. I'm looking for approval of the August 21st, 2023 village board minutes. I'm looking to file the 7/19/2023 Park and Recreation Board, the July 25th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting minutes as presented. We'll need a motion and a second.
Also move.
A second.
We have a motion and a second. Any suggestions, corrections, changes to the village, to any of these minutes?
I abstained from the village board minutes, and I was not here for that meeting.
Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Okay, we'll go to number 4. Persons requesting to be heard on a non-agenda item. Do we have anybody signed in for that, Carmen? In the meantime, it doesn't look like we have anybody here who wants to speak, so we're in good shape. So we'll go right to business presented by the president. I am looking to appoint Tom Bartline as a regular member of the Zoning Board of Appeal, who is currently an alternate on that committee. I'll need a motion in a second.
I'll make the motion to approve, Tom.
Second,
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that?
yes. Who was he replacing, and we may know a little bit more about it?
Well, there was an open position there that had been left. And he, as an alternate and having the appropriate credentials, was assigned as an appointee.
He's been on for a while too, I believe.
He's not been on that committee.
Yeah.
He's been an alternate on that committee, correct?
He has,
I'd like to have Jessica.
He has been an alternate on the committee. We don't have a full, we did not previously have a full board, so he did serve multiple times. But it's been in a recent.
Okay, very good. Answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion carries. Resolution, ordinance, action items, report of planning commission.
Yes, first item is a resolution to conditionally approve the final plat for the Glen at Stonewall Farms condominiums. This is phase 2 of the condominium development, which is part of the larger single-family residential subdivision over at Stonewall Farms. This is coming forward as a recommended action item for the village board. A resolution would take an offer, a motion, a second.
Very good. We'll need an offer, a motion in a second, based on a resolution to conditionally approve the final plat for the Glen at Stonewall Farms condominiums, agenda number 1, phase 2.
I'll offer.
Motion. We have motion, Second,
I'll second.
we have offer, motion, and second. Any discussion of that? All right. Let's take a vote on that. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Let's go to the ordinance recommending amendments to Article 6, architectural design standards of Chapter 19 zoning be approved. Jessica, I think we discussed it in planning commission.
Yes. So this amendment is related to an architecture review board recommendation that the new homes in the village that have stone or brick on the front facade or facades that are visible from the front of the house be wrapped around the corner, so that they would be returned to an inside corner. So it is an aesthetic requirement that is being recommended.
Okay, and this has come through 2 committees. It initially came through
Architecture Review
Architectural.
Board, who made a recommendation to the Plan Commission, and then the Plan Commission
approved
recommended
at
also.
both of them. So on this one, are we going to need an offer or just a motion?
No, motion, and a
A
second.
motion and a second. I'll entertain a motion in a second.
I'll make the motion that we approve the amendments.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Let's go to Department and Officers Report, Village Administrators Report. Jesse?
Absolutely. I have a handful of items for the village board this evening. First of all, I want to start out by recognizing Administrative Assistant Linda Dean in our Public Works Department. It was her efforts that really carried the day with regards to coordinating and actually implementing the plastic bag collection project, which is resulting in a new park bench for the village of Grafton. We have met the threshold set forth by the sponsor, if you will, to create this this bench made out of recycled plastic. Linda really spearheaded the project, and she has done an amazing job to the extent where we have actually exceeded the threshold and we are dialing back our collection a little bit. But to Linda's credit, she does want to continue this effort, and staff is working with local retailers to establish and strengthen their plastic bag recycling collection. So it's really just this neat project that gives us an amenity here in the village, but also reaching out to the community and strengthening that business interaction with those stakeholders, and something good overall for not only the community, but the environment. And really, the lion's share of the credit and kudos goes to Linda Dean for that project. So
Yeah, that was
appreciate
really,
that.
really nice, because I think we were thinking it was gonna take us 6 months collecting 500 pounds of bags.
Yep.
And that's a lot of Sendix and Target bags
Yes, it is.
to collect. They've done a very nice job with that.
Do we have an idea where that might be placed?
We do not. We do not. Nope.
Yeah, I don't think it's gonna go on trustees' front lawns. just
No.
yet.
No, no.
Of course, I'm being facetious about that. It'd be nice to have, it'd be nice to have out there. So
Absolutely.
congratulations to her. I think we should do something nice, a little
Agreed.
recognition for
Agreed.
her on the nice job she did.
Agreed. Some more good news to pass along. The police department will be receiving a donation from the All My Friends group. This is the same group that did the all-inclusive playground at Centennial that facilitated that project. This donation will be to establish a sensory room for autistic children and adults who would have to work with the police department or speak with the police department. It will be a specific interview room, or a room where they are able to be there and be comforted with amenities specifically geared towards autistic individuals, help with calming, help with communication, and so forth. My understanding of how the program works, All My Friends came forward to the police department and gave some general specs as to what would constitute a sensor. First asked if the police department had room. They do. There is an extra, if you will, interview room. And All My Friends gave the specifications of what would make a good sensory room for autistic individuals, and basically said, Grafton Police Department put forward, in essence, a shopping list to meet these criteria, and we will offset those costs. So this donation will be coming forward to Public Safety Committee this month for formal donation, for formal acceptance, and then up to Village Board. But that is just an amazing amenity for our police department to have, as autistic individuals. As you may know, there are challenges there with communication and sometimes behavioral, where if there's an amenity that we have, or a resource that we have at our disposal to be able to comfort them and facilitate communication, that's a feather in our police department's cap. I believe it may be the first or second in the county. Ozaukee County may have one, but we are right there on the leading edge of those efforts, and just a great program to be able to participate in. So that's a neat project coming forward. And again, Public Safety Committee will see that donation come forward later this month. Research into the take-home vehicle matter is ongoing. Quite frankly, with other pending personnel matters, the litany of the IRS publication regarding employers' taxing of fringe benefits, reviewing that literature has taken more time than I thought. I'm also in the process of gathering historical information of what has been past practice here in the village with regards to employees taking vehicles home, but I'm also trying to get examples from other communities. So that said, within the next 30 days, a report back and potentially a policy recommendation will be forthcoming within the next 30 days.
Jesse, what, just in our area around here, is there any idea, kind of what we see from maybe Port or Cedar or Metwine you know, kind of what that takes place with both.
What I've seen are police and fire chiefs, so far, unique circumstances for emergency responses, other individuals, but primarily it's been with the emergency services. So that's the data I have so far.
Okay. Yep. Very good.
And then I did mention this in our previous, committee of the whole meeting, but just to walk through, an update with regards to fire department consolidation, where are we at? As you know, we've got a working group that is kind of whittled down to Saukville and ourselves. Our associated townships as well have been a small part of the discussion, but with the state shared revenue debate settled, as well as the county ARPA program reaching a resolution, it appears as though referendum will likely be needed to fund a fully consolidated department. We're hoping to the contrary, but we wanted to get a better understanding of how these other funding sources may work. That said, we do see the serious need or serious potential to move forward with the referendum. That said, our rough time frame right now as a working group is looking at an updated service agreement with Saukville for 2024, whereby the village of Saukville fully contracts with the Grafton Fire and EMS department. That said, we'd be targeting a spring of 2024 referendum date with a January 1, 2025 go live date for a newly formed consolidated standalone department. This new entity, what we're envisioning, would operate similar to the library, whereby an allocation of funding would be allocated to the consolidated fire and EMS department. A board of directors would then determine how to best use that funding. There would be no taxing authority of this consolidated department, similar to the library. The library does not levy taxes. And again, it would be governed by a board of directors, which would encompass all of the stakeholder representatives from all of the stakeholder communities. Again, this is our rough vision right now as a working group, so bear with me on this update. But that said, in the meantime, we are solidifying the costs associated with consolidated organizational chart and capital plan. Also, we are confirming with how this will be viewed by the state of Wisconsin with regards to tax levy caps and the expenditure restraint program. As some of you may recall, when the village of Grafton consolidated its dispatching operations with Ozaukee County, the state of Wisconsin came back and said, you have to wipe all of those expenditures off your books and you cannot collect that tax levy. I believe it was in the neighborhood of about $500,000 for the dispatch budget. We fought the fight, if you will, and negotiated the fact that the dispatch budget encompassed, yes, dispatching functions. Those functions went to Ozaukee County. However, as you know, we retained police support specialists and administrative staff to do things like evidence cataloging, filing, report writing, report taking, customer service, phone, administrative phone calls, and other administrative type functions within the department. So we were able to only lose $250,000 worth of levy, rough numbers, instead of the 500 that the state initially came back with when we said we consolidated dispatch. So we are working hard to get in writing what a consolidated fire and EMS department means to not only the village of Grafton, but also the village of Saukville with regards to those two very significant criteria set forth by the state, being the levy limits and expenditure restraint. So that is our rough vision and our rough time frame right now. This continues to be refined, but that is where we are at today.
And I think to add on to what Jesse's saying is that, you know, we're giving Bill a lot of gray hair lately, because what we really want to be able to do is find out, you know, we want to be able to find out what our total cost is going to be for this department. And that's really a challenge, because I think that we try over the past couple of years to be able to phase in FTEs, and it really becomes, don't quote me on this, Ben, but it can't be a death by 1,000 cuts. I think what we really want to do is we want to know what size department we need, the dollars assigned to that, so we can come up with a number that says, this is what the department's going to have, because that'll be key in us being able to determine how those funds are allocated across the communities. So we are giving chiefs some gray hair on that, because we're just saying, you know, we show us how much money we need to spend so we can get that information out to our partners. And that is a challenge. But that's something we're gonna work on very hard and, try to get our arms around within the next couple of weeks.
Yes, and quite frankly, that also ties into the public education efforts. We don't want to simply go out there and say the referendum word with no value attached to it. That's a scary topic to broach. If that's an unknown, we're defeating ourselves before we get started. What we want to be able to do as a working group is present to, first of all, the governing bodies of each of the municipalities involved, what that department could look like, what the associated costs, both operational and capital, could look like. And then how we can approach that and how that would potentially break out over across all of the participating communities. So that way folks have an understanding in advance of us even getting to the topic of referendum. Yes, that is the mechanism, but there's a whole lot of education that is incumbent upon us to carry out before we even get into, how that mechanism looks. So that, to President Delors' point, all of that information that's coming together and refined is going to be key to getting out and basically educating everybody on what this will look like and what frankly it would cost.
And what were those dates again? You said it would be fully
We're
consolidated by January 2025.
correct. Right now, we are targeting a spring 24 referendum. That would be ideal, because then we would have the yay or nay as far as the taxing authority to collect those funds. But then that builds into the budget that fall for January 1, 25, operationally speaking, to fund that consolidated department. So it lines up with a new budget coming online with the start date of a new department. So that's roughly how that would lay out.
If I may ask two quick clarifying questions. One, how much of an accelerated timeline, if any, do you feel that there might be because of the county ARPA funding decisions?
It's huge. Yeah, I mean, it's right now, we've been told that we're gonna get anywhere from $1.1 million, which was the original, down to $325,000, now maybe $700,000. The fact of the matter is we've got to get our shoes running on this because the ARPA funds are really only going to fund us for probably 1 year.
Correct. That's our jump starter. That's our seed money, if you will. That's the intent there. Yep.
Sure. And hopefully, and I imagine and trust that'll be part of the communication
Oh,
to the
absolutely.
community.
Yep.
And then the second part, I have forgotten it, so I will defer to trustee Hardbeck, who I think.
No problem.
Will Stockville pretty much follow what we're going to do also as we'll be working together?
I have to tell you that our relationship with Stockville is a special relationship. I think that they are like all in. And I think that initially when the numbers came out, we were really all happy with the numbers. And then some of the numbers came out that favored Grafton over Stockville. And we came to an agreement is that we're all in one bucket. So I think that we have their 6 o'clock, so to speak. They have our 6 o'clock, and I think that both Andy and myself, Dawn and Jesse, understand that we're going to have a long working relationship in this, as well as do the towns. The
Yes.
towns have been very supportive of this, and of course, they're concerned because they don't want to see their fees go up a lot. But to have a full-time fire department is going to take a lot of work. I'm happy that moving forward towards the referendum at a time when Port and Cedarburg are also talking referendum, it's good timing for us. And of course, I think that there'll need to be further discussion at this meeting on how we move out to communicate with the public if we do decide to maybe get a firm that can help us with that. Well, that might be an option as well.
That's a result of good leadership too.
It's homogeneous leadership.
Yeah.
And we're looking for. It's just everybody on the same page and making sure that we have a great fire chief, which we do, and that we have great leaders that are able to work together with one another.
Jesse, is a working group between the village and the school, is that still ongoing, those meetings? Because
The liaison meeting, we have one coming up later this month, as I recall. Yep.
I heard that there's talk about referendum with John Long, so we don't want to have two of them at the same time, right? I mean, has there been communication with them, or has that come up at all?
It has not, because quite frankly, our working group has just gotten to the point where we believe that a referendum is going to be necessary. We held up, as you recall during the conversations, and I know trustee Harbeck was part of the early conversation as well. where we held out. We did not want to say the R word, so to speak, early on. We did not want to do that because frankly, our working group felt that would be a bit irresponsible. We didn't know what the state shared revenue numbers were gonna look like. We didn't know exactly how the county ARPA program was going to play into this. So we were gonna wait, knowing full well now, we have a heavy lift moving forward on an abbreviated timeframe. As a working group to get that information out to the policymakers and to the public as well. But that said, I truly believe we can get there. So that is a long answer to say, no, there has not been communication directly with the school district with regards to a potential referendum for the fire and EMS department.
You know, we really can't, it's two separate government
Mhm.
entities. You know, I think it's two separate government entities. They need
separate
money for
taxes.
something.
Mhm.
We need some money for something. And this has been part of our, this large plan that we went through with the Wisconsin Policy Institute.
Yes.
You know, we need to decrease our ambulance, our EMS response or EMS fire response times. You know, and again, it's going to the public with the right amount of information. I am confident the public will make the right decision. What that decision is really called the best of democracy. People make the decision.
I just want to note too that the joint liaison or the school district village liaison meeting will probably be scheduled for October.
Okay,
We're just trying to find a date.
perfect. Thank you, Jess.
Jesse, anything else?
I'm done.
All right.
Ross.
Let's go to no licenses, nothing to approve there. Reported the bills, saw quite a bit of back and forth on that. And I believe there was a late.
There was,
Yep.
um,
So before we get into that,
but I'm ready.
before we get into that, just one request that we have to be made is if we can really try to get the questions on the bills done by like 5 o'clock on Saturday, that would really help us to be able to get those out. If you have those, we're trying to get agendas out by Wednesday, starting September 1st, as well as the report of the bills. If we can kind of give our staff a little help on that and try to get those questions out by close of business on Saturday, if there is business on Saturday, that way the first thing we can do is address that. That's fair enough.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
With that, very quickly, just to touch on inquiries that were received. Batch 1 and Agilex, page 1, general fire equipment, the installation of mandated blueprint control of $620.90 per vehicle by multiple vehicles. Basically, what was this? This was the installation and equipment purchase for siren light controls. The police department is proactively getting ahead of state requirements to be able to turn for a traffic stop, the lights, being able to control the lights from the rear of the vehicle. During a dangerous, and I'm using the wrong term, but during a dangerous or volatile traffic stop, the normal procedure is to be behind the driver's side door up front. So you have the controls right there. The new procedure is actually to be behind the vehicle. However, with the lights flashing, these switches actually allow the rear facing lights to be shut off so the officer can still see out in front of them for the traffic stop. And again, these are for the extreme cases of traffic stops, not just a normal speeding ticket or anything like that, but these are for the extreme cases. So what the police department did was reallocated vehicle medical supply dollars, which were not being utilized to, again, get out in front of that state requirement to install these new switches. Other squads will be outfitted as we go as well. So similar charges will be forthcoming for other squads. SOS Electronics retiree ID card. This was for a retired police officer identification card for James Cawley, who retired earlier this year. The PD has historically provided retirees with retired officer cards. That serves a couple of purposes. One, they can carry that for concealed carry purposes. They can utilize that potentially for law enforcement discounts and other retiree benefits as well. But that is something we have done in the past. So that is a reissued retired ID card for Jim Cawley. MATC pursuit driving training of $547.92. This was a training program for 12 officers. This was there may be renewal of it over time, but this is a one-time cost for those 12 officers. Symbol Art LLC on page 13, $125 for a replacement badge. Jim Cawley was provided his badge at retirement. This is a replacement for that outgoing badge. Trustees 2, page 2, a MasterCard charge, $632.87. Fire Department software program. This is an Adobe Creative Cloud licensing fee paid for by the fire department. I was not able to get the number of licenses, but I believe that is an annual license fee. But I don't have the specific number of licenses for the fire department in time for tonight's meeting. Trustees 4, page 1, MasterCard Corporate 125. There's a description that notes an amount of $125 to be reimbursed. This is a reimbursement from Chief Caponera for training expenses not paid for by the village. This has been reimbursed. That is the description I have at this point with the timing I had available. Page 2, police operations lunch for the Rotary Club, $76.41. The village does not pay for Rotary Club meals, did not pay for, I don't believe we covered John Hansen's. Granted, that would have been a library decision, but that is the closest descriptor or similar situation I would have. That said, I believe that has been reimbursed to the village already. Lastly, a MasterCard charge for funeral flowers of $62.95. This was the village sent flowers. Unfortunately, Al Coletti's granddaughter was involved in a bad accident and perished. And the village sent flowers as Mr. Coletti has been and continues to be a longstanding help for the village with regards to committee service. So that was that charge.
And may she rest in peace. All right, any other first questions on the village expenditures?
Thank you.
Very good, thank you, Lisa. We'll need a motion in a second.
A motion to approve.
I'll second it.
A motion and a second, all in favor of approving village expenditures at $787,067.99. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. Number 10, we'll look for a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
A motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Have a good night and see most of you at